Hey there, history fans! Today, we're time traveling back to the 1600s in America. Buckle up because it's going to be a wild ride. Imagine a time before cars, phones, even electricity. Life was tough, but people were brave and determined to build a new life. Think about it. Vast forests, Native American tribes, and a whole lot of unknowns. The 1600s was a time of exploration, danger, and the very beginnings of a nation. We're talking about the first European settlements, clashes of cultures, and the stories that shaped a continent. Ready to dive in? Let's go. Okay, so picture this. You're a European explorer arriving in America. What do you see? No, not hamburgers and skyscrapers. Think endless forests, mighty rivers, and people. Remember, America wasn't empty when Europeans arrived. Native American tribes had been living here for centuries with their own cultures, languages, and ways of life. They were skilled hunters, farmers, and stewards of the land. But the arrival of Europeans would change everything. Different languages, customs, and beliefs led to both cooperation and conflict. This meeting of worlds is a big part of the 1600s story. Our first stop is Jamestown, Virginia, the first permanent English settlement in America. Founded in 1607, Jamestown wasn't exactly a picnic. Think disease, starvation, and tension with Native Americans. Life was hard. The colonists came looking for gold and riches, but quickly realized survival was the real challenge. Many early colonists didn't make it. But hold on, a guy named John Smith stepped up. He brought order to the chaos, made alliances with the powerful Powhatan Confederacy, and saved Jamestown from disaster. Jamestown's story is one of struggle, resilience, and the determination to make a new life in a challenging land. Fast forward to 1620, and we meet the Pilgrims, a group seeking religious freedom. They were determined to find a place where they could practice their beliefs without persecution. Leaving behind their homes and everything familiar, they embarked on a journey filled with hope and uncertainty. They sailed across the Atlantic on the Mayflower, a small ship that carried them through treacherous waters. After a long and arduous journey, they finally landed in what's now Massachusetts, far from the comforts of their old lives. Talk about a tough voyage. Cramped quarters, storms, and seasickness. It wasn't a luxury cruise. The Pilgrims endured weeks of rough seas, with little space to move and limited supplies. Many fell ill, and the constant threat of storms made the journey even more perilous. Upon arrival, they signed the Mayflower Compact, a document promising to work together and govern themselves. A big step towards democracy. This agreement was crucial for maintaining order and cooperation among the settlers, laying the foundation for their new society. The Pilgrims faced a harsh winter, disease, and starvation. The cold was relentless, and many lacked adequate shelter and food. Despite their best efforts, nearly half of the original group did not survive the first winter, but they persevered with the help of Squanto, a Native American who taught them how to farm and survive in this new land. Squanto's knowledge of the local environment and his willingness to assist the Pilgrims were invaluable. He showed them how to plant corn, fish in the rivers, and gather resources essential for their survival. The first Thanksgiving, a celebration of their harvest and survival, is a story we still tell today. This feast marked a moment of gratitude and unity between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans, who had helped them through their most challenging times. It was a time to give thanks for the bountiful harvest and the friendships that had formed, setting a precedent for future generations. Section 5. Life in the colonies, not for the faint of heart. Life in the 1600s. Colonies wasn't easy. Forget your smartphones and video games. Daily life revolved around survival. Most colonists lived on farms, working from sunrise to sunset. Houses were simple, built from wood. Families cooked over open fires, made their own clothes, and relied on each other for just about everything. Education was basic, and religion played a huge role in daily life. It was tough, but these colonists were building the foundation for a new nation, brick by metaphorical brick. Section 6. From Fields to Forests. Making a living in the 1600s. What did people do for a living? Well, farming was huge. In the 1600s, the vast majority of colonists relied on agriculture to sustain their families and communities. Colonists grew crops like corn, wheat, and tobacco. Corn was a staple food, while wheat was essential for making bread. Tobacco, often referred to as the brown gold, was a cash crop that made some colonies incredibly wealthy. Besides farming, many colonists took up trades such as blacksmithing and carpentry. Others became shopkeepers, providing essential goods and services to their communities. These shops were vital for the daily needs of the colonists. The relationship with Native Americans was complex. It was a mix of cooperation and conflict. Sometimes they traded and cooperated, exchanging goods like food, tools, and knowledge. Other times, there was conflict over land and resources, leading to tensions and even violent confrontations. And don't forget about the fur trade. This was another significant aspect of the economy. Europeans traded with Native Americans for beaver pelts, which were highly valued in Europe for making hats and other garments. These pelts were highly prized back in Europe, fetching high prices and driving further exploration and trade. It was a time of hard work, resourcefulness, and determination. Colonists had to be self-sufficient and innovative to survive. Adapting to a new environment was crucial. They had to learn new farming techniques, build homes, and create communities from scratch. The 1600s were a period of immense challenge and opportunity, shaping the future of America. Section 7. Native American Life, a Culture Under Pressure. While colonists established their foothold, Native American life was changing dramatically. They faced disease, displacement from their lands, and pressure to adopt European ways. Despite the challenges, Native Americans showed resilience and strength. They adapted to the changing times, formed alliances with different European groups, and fought to preserve their cultures and traditions. Their story is an essential part of American history, often overlooked. Section 8. More colonies pop up, each with a story to tell. As the 1600s went on, more colonies sprang up, each with its own unique flavor. You had the Puritans in Massachusetts, known for their strict religious beliefs. Then there was Pennsylvania, founded by William Penn, a Quaker who believed in religious tolerance and peaceful relations with Native Americans. The Carolinas became known for rice and indigo plantations, but sadly, relied heavily on enslaved Africans, a dark chapter in American history. Each colony had its own character, beliefs, and even accents. It's like the original 13 colonies were 13 different flavors of the same melting pot. Section 9. The Seeds of Revolution. Trouble is brewing. As the 1600s drew to a close, tensions were brewing between the colonies and England. The once harmonious relationship was now strained, and the air was thick with discontent. The colonists, who had grown accustomed to a certain level of freedom and self-governance, were now feeling the heavy hand of British rule. England imposed taxes and laws that the colonists found unfair, leading to resentment and calls for greater autonomy. The Stamp Act, the Townshend Acts, and other taxes were seen as unjust impositions. The colonists felt they were being treated unfairly, as they had no representation in the British Parliament. This famous cry of "no taxation without representation" began to echo through the colonies. The colonists were used to a degree of self-government, and they didn't appreciate England meddling in their affairs. Town meetings and local assemblies had given them a taste of democracy, and they were not willing to give it up. They believed they had the right to govern themselves and make their own decisions without interference from across the ocean. Think of it like this. Imagine your older siblings suddenly telling you what to do all the time after you'd been living on your own for a while. Not cool, right? This is exactly how the colonists felt. They had been managing their own affairs and now felt smothered by the sudden and strict oversight from England. This growing dissatisfaction would eventually lead to the American Revolution, but that's a story for another time. The seeds of revolution were planted in these moments of frustration and defiance. The colonists' desire for freedom and self-determination would soon ignite a struggle for independence that would change the course of history forever. Section 10. Looking back, the 1600s, a century of change. So, there you have it. The 1600s in America was a time of exploration, hardship, adaptation, and the clash and blending of cultures. From the first struggling settlements to a growing sense of identity, this century laid the groundwork for a nation yet to come. It's a story of survival, resilience, and the constant pursuit of a better life. As you learn about the 1600s, remember the human stories, the dreams, struggles, and triumphs of the people who came before us. Because history isn't just dates and names, it's the story of us.